When deciding to replace your gas boiler or oil boiler with a new boiler, you should consider a couple of options. There are cast iron boilers, which is most likely what you already have in your home. And then there are new Navien Combi boilers. There are also other manufacturers as well. We at D. Rohde Home Services use Navien. If you look at the chart, you can see that the efficiency for these boilers are much different. A Navien Combi boiler is 96% efficient when creating heat for the home. A cast iron boiler is about 80% efficient when heating the home. Now, with the cast iron boiler, you also have to figure out a way to heat your domestic hot water, your showers, wash your hands, and a typical 40-gallon or 50-gallon or 80-gallon hot water heater that's gas operates at about 50% efficiency to create that hot water. Whereas a Navien Combi boiler is going to be somewhere in the 90% range. So you're looking at just strictly based on how much fuel you're using to create the heat, a 16% savings for Navien to create heat for the home, and a 40% efficiency difference when creating hot water. The next thing you have to think about is the lifespan. Now, it is true a Navien Combi boiler is typically going to last a little bit less than a cast iron boiler. However, there are a lot of people who are saying you're going to be changing these out every 5 to 10 years. Is that true? It can be true. If your boiler is not serviced every year, it is not flushed every year, or if you have water in your house that's corrosive, hard water, acidic water, alkaline water, it's going to shorten the lifespan of your boiler. So things to consider when you're deciding on a cast iron boiler versus a Navien boiler or Combi boiler is what is your water like? There are shortcuts that you can take. You can put in a simple filter before the Navien to be able to take out hard water if you don't have the means to take care of your whole house at the time. However, we always recommend taking care of all the water in your house, protect the pipes, faucets, and then other fixtures in your home. The next thing to think about is maintenance, as I just mentioned earlier. Navien boiler, you're going to want to have it done absolutely every year, but it's only one unit. So you're going to be flushing the water heater and flushing the boiler all at once. It's a single maintenance. For a cast iron boiler and a water heater, you need to do a tune-up on the boiler as well as flushing that water heater as well. Space aspect for a cast iron boiler and a water heater, you're looking at a pretty sizable footprint within your house. So you're going to lose closet space or have a boiler room for that. Whereas Navien Combi boiler hangs on the wall. So if you do have a boiler room and you need a little bit extra storage, Navien's for you because we're going to remove the big block boiler and the water heater, and we're going to mount it right on the wall. So now you're going to have all that extra space to store those sorts of things. The next thing is talking about domestic hot water production. A 40-gallon water heater, you're going to basically be able to get a single shower, maybe a shower and a half before it needs a little bit of time to regenerate. Whereas a Navien Combi boiler, you can have 2 showers going at the same time indefinitely, for as long as you need, as long as you have fuel. So for that, it's really, really nice. I have a Combi boiler in my home, and we can take shower after shower when we have guests, which we have often. Everyone can shower at the same time. You don't have to worry about waiting or getting a warm shower, cooler shower. It's going to make your wife very happy, or your in-laws for that matter. The next thing, this is something that's really interesting that people might not know a lot about. The Navien boiler has a sensor that sits outside of the home and it measures the outdoor temperature. Based on the outdoor temperature, it's going to tell the boiler how hard to work. If it's 50 degrees outside and you're trying to heat your home, you don't need to have very hot water going throughout your house. A typical cast iron boiler is always going to send about 170 to 180 degree water through your baseboards or radiators. Always. It doesn't matter if it's 50 degrees out. It doesn't matter if it's negative 10 degrees out. Where a Navien boiler is going to say, hey, it's 50 degrees outside. I don't need to send 180 degrees into the home. I'm going to send 120 or 130 degree water throughout the home. And your house is going to be much more consistently heated throughout. You're not going to have your thermostat overshoot. It's not going to be under. It's always going to run just where it needs to be. So the modulation, anywhere from 15% of its capacity to 100% of its capacity. So on those shoulder months, times when the temperature outside isn't very cold, that's when you're saving a good amount of money. It's very, very significant. So not only is it more efficient just in combustion efficiency, which is the 96 and 80, but also in times when it's not super cold out, it's not even going to work at 100% of its capability. So that's a really nice thing to think about as well. The last one, which might not be super significant for a lot of people, is the noise. We are now finishing a lot of basements nowadays. By the way, D. Rohde Home Services does do basement remodeling. For a cast iron boiler and a water heater, when those kick on, especially if there's a fan involved, they are pretty loud. Watching a movie, everyone's having a good time, and all that big boiler kicks on. It's loud, especially oil boilers, which we can convert over to a Navien with propane. With a Navien, very, very quiet. Unless you're in the room, you're not even going to know they're running. So overall, you can see going through this list, the Navien really does have a better outcome for customers. It is much more efficient. You may have to replace it more often, but the money that you're saving throughout its lifespan far exceeds the savings that you would have by not having to replace it within 5 years of cast iron boiler.